Overwatch news, that is right. This is not a debate. There is actually some Overwatch news that we can discuss. Let's get stuck into this because actually, it's a bit funky. So this is about the Moira rework, which must be one of the components, one of the ingredients of the next Overwatch 2 beta, which of course, remember, this is something we're going to find out about on the 16th of this month, although I fear that what we're actually going to find out is the date for the next beta. I'm going to guess that this is going to be kind of early July, maybe, but yeah, maybe it'll be sooner. I don't know. Obviously, I want content because I'm literally just going out of my goddamn mind. Like, I can't explain to you guys what this has been like for me. I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, it would be good if I could, if there was something to do. Yeah, it's a path to absolute madness, and I can't. Anyway, I'm not going to go into detail on that in this video, because what we're here for is this Moira rework information. This article is actually, so it says, Overwatch 2 developer blog, designing heroes for a new era. Absolutely wonderful. Beautiful title. You love to see it. And then we get a picture of Toronto from sort of off the map. Great. And then they say this: the Overwatch team has been ideating and experimenting with a handful of heroes since the PvP beta wrapped up. Here's a hint to one of the new heroes we've been working on so far. The true struggle is for the superiority of ideas. So we're like, oh, it's Moira. That's a Moira quote. Wow, I wonder what they've been working on. Then they literally tell us everything they've been working on. It's like, we don't need a hint. It's in the article. This is amazing. The other thing as well, now this is a very uniquely Blizzard thing. They love ideating. Now, every game developer does this, but Blizzard like to tell you they're doing this. And if you want to get heavily pissed out of your mind, when you read any kind of thing from, especially the Overwatch team, every time you hear the word or see the word ideation or we ideated or anything of that description, you take a drink, you will be wrecked within 10 minutes. I can guarantee you. Going back and watch any of their live streams they've done recently, you'll be needing hospitalization. Anyway, let's move on to sort of see what they've got here. So they say we've been cooking up some new ideas for Moira, and we're considering how she will perform as we step into the future of the game. Led by associate hero designer Alex Kwok. I may have destroyed your name. I apologize. I don't think I've actually heard that name before. So maybe this is a new developer or a developer that's stepped up or a developer that's just stepping into sort of the limelight. The hero balance and design team is looking at how to best update Moira's kit for Overwatch 2. She's an effective support, sometimes too effective in certain metas, like GOAT, which doesn't exist anymore because it physically cannot exist anymore. Anyway, yeah, she was effective. However, we believe she lacks the playmaking ability and utility possessed by other supports on the roster. To improve the feel of her gameplay, we're iterating, take a drink, on fresh changes that will give her kit more depth. As we navigate towards this goal, we're here to give you an inside look at how we ideate, take another one, and iterate, there's another one, on hero design. Yeah, I'm wrecked already. I mean, oh my lord. Now, what's interesting before we get into this, there was I don't call it a developer stream, but I guess it was. So ML, a popular streamer, and SVB, another popular streamer, they spoke to Josh No and Jeff Goodman. They're the guys basically responsible for balance in the game and new hero design. But mainly balance, I guess. Josh is maybe more balanced. Jeff's obviously hero design and stuff. But anyway, they actually were talking a lot about Moira. So obviously, you know, they knew this was coming further down the line. And yeah, we get to see this post, which does sort of like basically what they were saying in that video or in that stream, I guess, or kind of like a podcast, I guess. But what they were saying in that is they want to give Moira more skill. They want to give Moira the ability to sort of pop off. So they were looking at some ideas, and they did throw a few ideas around. But this article goes into a lot more detail than anything in that video that we've seen. So yeah, we can go over this, and we can kind of get the idea behind the changes to Moira, and we can kind of work out if we think this would be a good direction to take her in. Anyway, some of these ideas, hero balance and iteration design process. So we're taking another drink there. We have two goals for Moira's kit. We want to give her more utility and the power to make game-changing plays. The design process is multifaceted and sometimes spontaneous. New ideas are shared with the entire hero balance and design team, and they collaborate to iterate, there's another drink, on these concepts to see what works best. Some of these ideas make it into an internal playtest, while others send the team back to the drawing board. When the idea passes through an initial round of internal tests, it gets shared with leaders across the entire Overwatch team to turn this idea into an ability. After the ability comes to life, it gets polished, it goes into a wider internal test where anyone on Team 4 and extended support teams can play and share their thoughts. If the ability makes it through that final test, it's ready to share with the players. So it's cool to know this. Like, this is like, you know, when we talk about Blizzard's communication issue, I kind of like this because they're telling us like that's their internal design process, which in the past they maybe were like secretive of that because maybe it's like a industry secret. I don't know. But considering all the producers have basically left Overwatch and gone to Riot, I'm sure Riot are very well aware of how Blizzard develop games. Anyway, moving on. We're not taking drinks anymore because we're literally wrecked. All of the following iterations to Moira's abilities are still in the early stages of the iteration process, meaning they haven't been tested outside of the hero balance and design team. Okay, so what they're saying here is, look, this is how we get things to the players, but we're only still inside the hero balance and design team. They haven't actually sent any of these out to anyone on Team 4 and extended support teams yet. Although I would obviously think that one of these, mainly the last one, will be probably playable in the next beta. So the first one is this, Iteration 1 Pain Converter. Now, I like the name of this. I like a bit of pain, and if we could convert that into something useful, I'll go for a lot of pain. I'll go through a shitload of pain making videos in Overwatch, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, one of the first changes the team thought to make was referred to, oh my lord, as Pain Converter. This ability was a damage reduction that, when cast on allies, would enable Moira to convert the damage she mitigated to fill up her healing bar. Pain Converter would cancel some of the damage an ally received while simultaneously allowing her to heal allies with Biotic Grasp, oh lord, massively increasing her target's survivability. This iteration didn't stick because of a few issues. Pain Converter felt like other existing abilities, like Batiste's Immortality Field. Oh, we don't need more of them. We don't need more of them. That prevent teammates from dying. The ability also felt too situational because you got the most value from using it on the tank and not on teammates getting dove or flanked. Lastly, Moira already has a complete kit, and we struggled to find room where we could add another ability. We tried binding Pain Converter to the reload key, but this felt awkward since Moira wasn't reloading a weapon. Quack explains. There was a brief iteration where players could activate it by holding down primary and secondary fire simultaneously, but the key binding added a level of clunkiness to her kit. Moira frequently switches between primary and secondary fire, so the ability would often accidentally trigger. So yeah, Pain Converter, it sounds, the name of it's great, but obviously, yeah, and because it kind of turned out to be another Batiste Immortality Field, they were like, nah, this ain't gonna work. But also gave us a bit more of a breakdown there, as it was difficult to find where to actually put this on Moira's kit, basically running out of keys, which I think that's really cool. Okay, let's move on. So iteration number two, Purge and Nullify. The next two abilities, Purge and Nullify, were separate iterations that were both bound to damage Biotic Orb. Purge was heavily influenced by World of Warcraft's Shaman class, and it would remove buffs from enemies. Since this type of ability fits with Moira's personality, we started thinking about what buffs could be removed. We considered Purge cancelling Anna's Nano Boost or Soldier 76's Sprint, but it wasn't super intuitive about what else should be removed. For example, Dragon Blade gives a small speed boost to Genji while it's active, and it was not clear if something like that would be removed by Purge. It was difficult to tell which abilities would be removed with Purge, so the ability was archived, and the concept behind it led to the creation of Nullify. So cool. So they've actually got an ability here which has been, they've decided it doesn't work, and then they've converted it into a different ability, which is Nullify, and then they go on to explain that. So Nullify came to life when we started to rein in the scope of Purge. Nullify negated damage reduction, damage boost, and movement speed while active. For example, it would suppress the effects of Nano Boost for a few seconds. The team's goal with Nullify was to come to a consensus about what types of abilities should be suppressed. One way the team attempted to add depth to Nullify was by enabling Moira to stop her orbs in place, creating areas of healing or nullification for teammates and enemies. Another iteration of Nullify dealt extra damage to overhealth. So if Lucio used Sound Barrier in Nullify's range, his shields would be destroyed rapidly. This change felt tacked on and difficult to understand, so overhealth damage was eventually removed. Really, that's really cool, that is. However, it still wasn't super obvious what Nullify did while playing a match. You only noticed it for the most part if you had damage boost, reduction, or speed on yourself when it applied. Otherwise, you couldn't really feel the ability, especially compared to something extremely visceral like Sleep Dart. This thinking eventually led to the conception of a third new ability, Weaken. Okay, again, I like this because this is... in Overwatch, it has to feel good to be affected by an ability and also good to use the ability. Because if you don't feel great when you use an ability, then you're not really going to play that hero. And if you get hit by ability which makes you feel like you lose control of your character, we know Overwatch has had a load of issues with this in the past, or abilities like that don't feel great. Like Doomfist Punch was always one. It never felt great when Doomfist just came out of the top ropes and instantly killed you and you kind of had no way to deal with that. It was like, oh, well, I've died to that. It doesn't feel great, but it felt great to Doomfist. So they're always struggling with this balance. So it's interesting to see that they obviously identify that very early on in the design process, and then I think they're trying to fix that before it actually hits live. Now, they may have always been trying to do this and have failed quite a few times. Also with readability, I mean, I hate to use this example, but I've got to use it. Briggs Inspire is so bad. Like, you can't see who that's healing, really. Okay, yeah, you get a little sort of heal effect, but it's very difficult in the mess of Overwatch to see what's going on. So I don't know. Maybe that needs something similar to like Lucio's speed boost, where you actually start to glow if you're in range of that or something. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So they've got a new ability, Weaken. Now this is the ability I think we're going to see on the beta, because they kind of heavily insinuate that, which is a beautiful word. I love that. So they say this, iteration 3, and we're on drink 500, Weaken. Weaken is the current iteration that the team is working on. This ability begins charging when reload is pressed once. Okay. So they said they didn't like reload, but now they do. Okay. But fine, let's just go with this because I don't know what this ability is just yet. Causing Moira to build up energy in her hand. Okay, so you reload and she starts to channel or build energy in her hand. After Weaken is charged, Moira can fire a projectile that significantly lowers attack and healing output. She can choose when to fire this projectile or hold it at the cost of not being able to use her primary or secondary fire at the same time. We are considering something with a small projectile size like Anna's Sleep Dart. When we have an ability that requires players to manage things like timings, ultimate tracking, or accuracy, we have to move room. We have more room to make something that is going to feel both impactful and fair to play against. Skill shots are broadly more counterable, which is another reason why we can make them powerful in game. We like Sleep Dart, even though we're removing a lot of crowd control from Overwatch 2, because it requires more to effectively use than non-skill shot abilities. The team played around with the idea of attaching a passive effect to her alternate fire, but found that we would have to lower the overall potency due to the damage beam's high uptime. Weaken won't have the same uptime, so we'll have more room to turn it into a playmaking, game-changing ability. It won't feel free to land, and Moira will have to manage timings, positionings, and cast direction to successfully use Weaken. We aren't sure if this iteration will make it into the game because we're still testing it with the team, but it's looking promising so far. So they're not sure it's going to make it into the game, but they think it's promising. So yeah, it probably will. This is really interesting because this is a Moira Sleep Dart, isn't it? It's that they're basically saying, and they did allude to this earlier on in this article, they like Moira's Sleep Dart. They've got rid of stuns, but they want to keep that in the game because it's still, nobody really feels like they've been robbed when they get hit by that. It's like, oh yeah, cool. It was a nice shot. You put me to sleep. Okay, fair enough. I'll take my licks as I get destroyed because I've been slept or whatever. It's fine. So they want to give Moira that. But instead of it hard CCing you, because they don't want CC, instead this reduces your healing received and your damage output. And you've got the duality of, do I sit there with Weaken charged in my hand and throw it at someone, or do I need to heal with primary fire or do damage with secondary fire? And I think that's cool. It'd be really interesting to see how that interacts with the orbs, because if you're holding the Weaken and then you just swap to the orb and then you yeet an orb out, you just go straight back to Weaken and you can throw that out? I don't know. But this could be super powerful because I don't think Moira's damage is great, but if Moira could suddenly just reduce the damage and the healing received on an enemy player, provided you hit them. I mean, we don't know projectile speed. We know the projectile size is probably going to be quite small based off what they said there. But there's a lot of questions here. But this is kind of cool because this gives Moira a skill shot, doesn't it? That's really cool. So they also go on to say this, designing a new era of Overwatch. Ideas and iterations aren't always discarded when we don't initially use them. They're often resurfaced and used for future heroes. An example of this being Overwatch's first post-launch hero, Ana. Originally codenamed Alchemist, her first incarnation tossed potions at her teammates and wielded a healing grenade launcher. Once we decided the Alchemist would be Ana, her potions became Biotic Grenade and her weapons transformed into healing rival to fit with the story. Alchemist's original weapon would become... I think we know that anyway. I'm pretty sure I've heard that story before. So cool. The ideas we're sharing with you are intended to offer more insight into our development process and preview the type of changes we may implement in the future for Moira. These iterations are completely independent of balance and solely focused on making Moira a more fun and exciting hero to play. We balance heroes after we can take a look at their complete kit all at once. Balancing and design aren't mutually exclusive to one another, but rather, they coexist at the same time with multiple factors that influence them. The Moira iterations are one piece of what's going on within the hero design and balance team. There are many other changes being tested and considered across the entire roster. While we aren't sure what will be changing for Moira or when those changes will happen, we are confident that we won't add something that isn't viable for our community in the game. Like all heroes in Overwatch, Moira is incredibly important to us. We want to do justice by both her character and kit, and we're excited about what's in store for her. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll be very surprised if we don't see this week and in the beta that is upcoming at some point, because I don't know why they would talk to us about it. Like, it would be very weird to talk to us about changes that don't actually make it into the game. What I do like about this, though, is they're actually giving us information. This is what I like to read. I just wish we got more of this. I understand, there's issues at Blizzard, there's problems, there's whatever going on. I just feel like, hey, maybe this becomes the start of, the beta news wave. So we'll start getting more updates now. Hopefully we get them every week, or we start seeing new stuff pop up, because I really want to get excited for this game. I really do. All right, guys, there you go. That's a breakdown of potential Moira changes coming to Overwatch 2 and new abilities. Do let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Remember, you can follow me on everything, which is @Stylosa. Do subscribe and support the channel by liking the video and leave a comment below. It really does help, and I will catch you lovely lot on the next video. Toodaloo.